Welcome back to YouTube channel. And today, again, somebody that I've wanted to know. I already know you, or bits of you, but I wanted to know about you, just you. You kind of, I'm intrigued by you as a person.
Okay.
And when we go through it, obviously I'll explain myself.
Yeah.
So obviously you've watched behind the scenes before, so you know that I've got a question for you.
Yes.
And you'll know what the question is.
Yes.
It's the only question I've got. That's all you know.
Yes.
And you do know that you can ask me a question at the end.
Yes.
So that's all you know.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you know what the question is. So again, most lives it would be disrespectful, or the way it's said can be interpreted as disrespectful, but it's not. So it's just, who are you?
When you asked me to come on, I've been trying to figure out like what that means.
Yeah.
And I think the answer's different, like every 2-3 years of your life, innit?
Yeah.
You know, if we did this every 3 years, I think I'd have a different answer. And I used to do inline skating when I was little, and there was a film that we used to watch called Brink. It's like a Disney film.
Okay.
And in it, the kid's talking to his dad, and his dad just got sacked, and he's talking to him about it. And he said, and it's one of those like teaching moments about don't forget who you are as a person. Because he was like, I always used to introduce myself as, hi, I'm whatever his name was, Dave Brinker, I'm the foreman. He always added his job title to his name so that people would look up to or respect him. And and it made me, like the last 2 years, definitely the last 2 years, it's made me realize that I'm like that. Like I've always been like, you know, if I'll say, I'll introduce myself with something that I think is impressive. Or like before I went to prison, it was more about sort of reputation. When I came home from prison, it was more about the fact that I'm in recovery and I don't drink. And then it was like, oh, Phil, I'm the director of life experience. And it's always come with this attachment that's like, oh, this is who I am.
You got more to prove yourself.
No, I never really thought about it or considered the fact that I do it until the last couple of years, where my work has sort of like moved away a little bit from life experience. Like it's always there, but we're gonna get into that. Yeah. So I'm not just the director of life experience anymore. And especially in the last few months, I've been having lots of conversations about like men in general and how we are. And, you know, I think the answer to the question is like, I'm a good man, like these days. And I have to add that bit because like I didn't used to be. And I think all the stuff that happened in the past, I've tried to flip. So, you know, all the sort of selfish reasons why I used to do stuff now, I'm the opposite. And I try to make sure I'm the opposite, and I'm doing things for the opposite reasons. It's not about personal gain. You know, it's not about any of that stuff. The money making, like I hate money. And that's a big conversation as well. Like you know. Do you
know what I will say? You're just Phil Pearce, a good person.
I try to be a good person.
Because what I will say is, there's a couple of things that I do know of you, and one, you've just said them. I know, not obviously not factually, but from what I know of you, you're not money orientated. I know that the money thing is not. And again, a lot of what, I don't know if you still do it, but I know there used to be a time where, because I don't know if you still eat at this place. So I'm talking about McDonald's. Although all the fast joints are just as good, but it used to be McDonald's, and I remember you used to get your food and you used to pay for the person that was behind you. Is that right? Is that something you still do now?
It's something I do, but it's something I've been doing for over 3 years.
Yeah,
but not for recognition. So
no
one knows. No one knows, obviously now people do because you said it.
Yeah,
but it's just like a.
But that comes down to the person of saying you are a genuine person. Like it's not something you bragged. It's just something that I know that I picked up through spending time with you. I don't know how it came up, but I remember you remember saying something like, "Oh yeah." It might have even been a running joke, like you paid for someone's meal, they ended up ordering for 5 people in the car or something. You've gone, it cost me a right few quid. That. Yeah. But I know for a period of time, you'd always pay for the person behind you.
I still do it. Like I said, I've been doing it for over 3 years now. And the day I got released from prison, I was walking through town with my bag, and there was some, I don't know which religion it was, but they were promoting a pamphlet of some sort.
Okay.
Stood in Leeds with the metal frame and all the little things in it. And I don't know what it was, but I walked past them and it was cold. It was mid-December when I came home. Oh, either the end of November, start of December. It was just before my birthday. And I walked back past them, went into a cafe or like a sandwich shop, paid for 3 hot drinks, took the receipt. I said to them, I don't know what drinks I want. Just charge me for the most expensive drinks, 3 of them. I'll take the receipt to the people who it's for. And then they can just come in and choose a drink.
And this was the day you got released?
That was the day I got released. And again, I don't know what sort of the reasons for it were. Like I said, I was just walking through town, but in prison, I started going back to like the chapel and spending time, because I'm not religious. I was brought up Catholic, but I don't go to church. I don't even know if I believe in God because of science, like I'd like to think that there is something. When I go to my mate's grave, I talk out loud as if he can hear me, but I don't believe in ghosts. Do you know what I mean? I'm just in this sort of like mixed up. I don't quite know where I'm at with all that stuff, but not a religious person. And it would just, like, NA is very much about, and again, it's not religion, but they use the word God. And it's about having a higher power, whatever that is. It could be your football team, it could be your parents, but something that, like, in my head, it's, would I still do it if that person was with me? So it helps me make better choices. But they push it as sort of a religious thing. So
I like that. Yeah.
I started going back to chapel to try and figure out, because certain steps require certain things, to try and work out in my head where I'm at with it. And all it did was confirm that I'm not really a religious person. I think my mum put us in those schools just to get, because they're the better schools. So we got christened to go to Catholic schools, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, so like I say, I was just walking past, and it might have been something that connects to that. It might have been that part of giving back, but I was just walking through, saw the 3 of them stood there, and they looked cold. So I was just like, I'm just going to get something. Just do something. Yeah. Okay.
So let's take you back now. So, because we to be fair, the people that do watch your YouTube channel, none of it is about glorifying anything. So again, just to be clear, there's no questions that I've said, or there's nothing where you've said to me, or don't ask me anything about that.
Yeah.
There's all that. But one thing, so I would have never covered it up. Like, for me personally, I would have never said that you'd been in prison.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have done. You've said that. But I'm going to go back in time now, because obviously you mentioned parents.
Yeah.
So talk to me about. So let's go from, obviously you won't remember being born.
No.
Well, let's go from
earliest memories
to then primary school, to the end of primary school. So how was the family dynamics? How was that?
So primary school, I've got 2 older sisters. One's a year and a half older. So in school, she was 2 school years above me.
Okay.
And I was convinced, as an adult now, and going to prison and speaking to a drug worker, we had a lot of conversations about how my head works. So I think differently.
It's very similar
to
how my head works.
So I've never had the diagnosis of anything, because I found out I'm in prison for my 30th birthday. So I'm that old. I'm at that age where my head has worked against me for a long time, for 30 years of my life, and I've never understood why. But now I've figured out a way to make it work in my favour. I don't need a diagnosis. It's not going to help me in any way, so I'm not interested. So I'm not going to say I have ADHD. I'm not going to say I have autism, because I don't know. All I know is that my head...
I'm telling you have though. It takes one to see one. I'm telling you. And not only that, you've said it to me anyway. You've got to be. Carl, you've definitely got it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just repaying the favour.
There's so many, like, people send me TikToks all the time and be like, does this sound familiar? I'm just like, yeah, but it don't mean anything. So I'm not ashamed of it. There's no diagnosis. There's no 100% tick that says yes, this is what it is. Again, I'm not interested, because I've worked out how my head works and how to make it a positive or an advantage in some circumstances. But when I was young, like, I'd always get into trouble, and in school I just didn't really, I don't learn the same way. If you sit and talk at me, I'm not going to take information in. But I didn't know that at the time. So I was getting into trouble. And in year 6, I only thought about this the other day, because I was talking to someone about their classes, their children's classes are changing. And I remembered that in year 6, I didn't get on with my teacher so much, because she was strict because she's trying to get used to high school. And I was disruptive. So I moved back down to year 5 because I was meant to be with her for 2 years. So I moved down a year because we didn't get on, and then just did one last year with her before I went to high school. So my education moved back a year because they didn't see that I just don't learn that way. At home, I used to constantly go through the photo albums because I thought I was adopted. It's madness, but I didn't feel like I fitted in because both my sisters were well behaved and I was the one who always got into trouble.
Academic.
Yeah. And it just, I felt out of place, and I always, like, I'd look through them. Loads of pictures of me as a baby are missing because I'd go through them and take them out, and I don't know what I ever did with them. But yeah, it was just...
sure you took them?
Yeah.
I'm joking. See, I can't help it. Again, we had the conversation the other day on phone, and we're like, I know I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm just going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
And then,
no, I prefer it.
And then leave it. So, primary school, so you come back a year, but then you go back and you automatically go into year 7.
I did a year in year 6 with that teacher.
Yeah.
And then moved to high school.
Went to high school.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing once you go into high school, have you carried that through with you?
Yeah, I mean, it was the same. Like, me and my RE teacher never got on. He used to throw me out at the start of lesson, but the class was right next to the head teacher, so I always used to get seen stood outside his class. If I enjoy something, I can focus, but if I've got no interest in it, I find it really hard to look like I'm present.
What was your focus in high school then?
Sport.
Okay.
Sport was a big one. Like problem solving, so puzzles, so certain things in science, certain things in maths, but not maths and not science.
Because you used to be, how do you used to write up in science? You used to do it and then it'd be method, conclusion.
Yeah.
Like for me, like maths for me as well.
Yeah.
So loved maths. Yeah, and sciences as well. But also history. History was a big thing for me.
Do you know, I remember always drawing. Like, I loved art, drawing Roman soldiers. So that part of, like, history, I feel like when you're mixing things, so if I don't enjoy maths, but you make it a game, I'm going to enjoy maths. Like, English, instead of doing spelling, if you did anagrams,
you'd be okay.
I'd love an anagram over spelling.
So mine was caught. So what I would do is, I'd do it in all lessons. I don't know why I did it, but it just works, and I continue to do it now. So if it was writing English, I would write whatever they were telling us to write, but then there would have to be key words that I'd have to make sure stood out to me for me to remember that sentence.
Right, okay.
So what I would do then is, the key word, I would go over it and go over it and go, so it became
embedded.
Yeah. And it was bulgier. That would catch my eye. The same way if I did methods, or then what I would do is, if there was things like that, I would capital letters.
Right.
So if I write, sometimes I will write normal, and then every so often you'll find a word that's in capitals and then gone over and gone over and gone over.
Yeah.
So that's how my brain would work. So then I go, right, okay, I know how to figure that. So I'm guessing now, if we're talking secondary school, you left with no GCSEs.
I got a couple of C's, and then the rest were worse. So I got a U in technology because I finished the exam and then put on some music, and I was sat with my headphones in because I can't do nothing. So you're meant to sit and wait till the end of the exam. So I'm sort of sat and I'm fidgety, and I'm like, I'm going to start distracting people. So I just put my headphones in, and I was like, they took it was a Walkman. They took that off me, and they said there could have been answers on the tape. I was like, for a technology exam. So I got a U because I'd put music on to
Did you think about listening to the tape?
Well, I don't even know what music would have been on that.
Banana Rama.
Not that long ago.
Okay, so leave school.
Yep.
GCSEs 2, 3.
Yep.
Where do we go? Where are we going?
So Mum tells me that I need some sort of trade. So I get an apprentice as a printer in Pudsey. So I'm
sorry. So you know that your home environment, was it? So it's just 2 sisters and just Mum?
No, Mum and Dad.
Right, okay.
Dad was long distance lorry driver, so he used to go to work Monday and come back Friday.
Okay, right. Okay.
I'm sure that's what used to happen. I don't know how long that was.
So Mum was a disciplinarian then?
Yeah. But it was like when your dad gets home, it was that sort of like, if Dad has to get involved, it's gone too far.
Okay.
It's that sort of.
So your mum tells you you've got to get a trade?
Yeah. So I go into printing,
Where are you from originally?
Beeston. So this is from, Beeston, so I'm cycling a BMX from Beeston to Pudsey, Monday to Friday. Office hours, like 9, 9.3, 9.4, £1.57 an hour, £60 a week.
YTS.
Yeah.
That's what you call back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, youth training scheme. Yeah. So yeah, it was just a really low paid apprenticeship. And then my boss, so I turned 17, didn't get a pay rise. Been there a year, didn't get a pay rise. And I was just sat on the end of machines like they used to do. If you ever watch like Champions League interviews, all the little stickers in the background, we used to make them. But it was screen printing, so it was very like hands-on, pressure on a squeegee blade, pushing ink through a canvas. And then each colour had a different bit embedded, so then it layers up to make an actual like colour, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I didn't get taught any of that. I was just sat at the end, and as it comes through, you straighten out. And if you see that they're slightly off, you need to tell the printer because the stencil's moved, so then they need to reset it and go again. And I'm just like, it just feels like a waste of time. And then I can't remember what happened. Something had happened. Like it would have been my fault, whatever it was that happened. And my boss got me by my neck up against the wall. And I was just like, this is it for me, I'm done. So I went and worked at White Rose Centre in a clothes shop with my sister when I was 17. And then as soon as I turned 18, the security kept poaching me. I'm like, why don't you come do this? Because I was quite tall, like I say, I used to do a bit of boxing when I was little and stuff. And so as soon as I turned 18, applied for a job, got that job, started doing security, and that led on to like working on doors and stuff like that. Okay.
I didn't know you did doors.
Yeah.
You did door work.
Yeah, a couple of my uncles did it. One of them was sort of head doorman for years at like Yates's and different places. And then it were cockpit.
Wow.
Yeah, did
tunnels.
Yeah. I worked on there for about a year. Did little bits.
You had an easy life then.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
There weren't any other clubs other than like Faversham that were like it. So if you got banned from there, I mean, there was some kickoffs, but it all knows where like as soon as you stop it, everyone stops because they don't want to get banned.
Most of them were students as well. A lot of them were students.
Yeah.
Okay, so doorman. So then, obviously, you've spoke about going to prison. So then, you come out of prison.
So before that, so working on doors in Leeds, go on a night out in Wakey. Am I 20? How old am I? 20? I think I'm 20 at the time. So this is while I'm working on doors. Night out in Wakey. Go to Subway after, waited in line in Subway, a girl stood in front of me. We're sort of laughing and joking about these pretty boys who stood up front. Swap numbers, meet up. We're together for about a year. 6 months into that relationship, we're at her house getting ready to go out for Valentine's Day. She just racks a line of coke up in front of me. And I'm just like, what the
Okay.
So I've grown up around it, never had aught to do with it. Sport was too important to me for me to get involved in any of that stuff. Because we've missed a bit actually. So in my teens, I jumped off a motorbike showing off, and I had my full kit on, so I had my boots on. I was late for a game against mates. So I get on a motocross bike. One of the lads picks me up on this stolen motocross bike, and I'm like, when we get there, as we're coming, they're all waiting to kick off. So I'm like, clown, go into the middle of the pitch. And the idea was, as we get into the middle of the pitch, I jump off, like, ta-da, I've arrived. And the bike's going quicker than I thought. As soon as I land, my stud's sticking, my knee twists, and the inside of my knee just explodes. So I didn't tear my ACL, it disintegrated, it gone, there were nothing. So they had to drill diagonally through my knee, take some tendons, thread them through as like a makeshift ACL. So it works on a daily basis, but not at like a sprint or like a stopping very quickly. So all the sport that I ever did, that was it then. I was done. So then fast forward a couple of years to being 20, I'm kicking off with her about the fact that she's like just doing drugs, like just like it's normal. Do you know what I mean? She was a dancer in a nightclub in Wakey.
And all this 6 months, you didn't know anything about it, right?
I don't see her very often. So she says to me at the end of this argument, how can you be so against it if you've never tried it? Now, like I've said, I'm working on the doors in Leeds. I'm not a vulnerable person. I'm not easily influenced. Like, I'm a grown-ass man. But she says that to me, and I'm like, oh, well, because of football and boxing and skating, and I'm like, nope, 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 nope. All the things that I had that stopped me from doing it were gone. So then I'm just like, oh, actually, how can I be so against it if I've never tried it? So then, obviously, I try it, and then I realise that all the times when I wasn't seeing her, she's at a mate's house in Huddersfield doing mushrooms and ketamine, and we're this crazy Italian chef in Hare Hills who does like GB and coke, and so then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, so now I'm being invited this day to go to this place. So then it just sort of, that first month was just chaotic, because like as soon as I tried coke for the first time, he was like, oh, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this? So all the drugs I ever did, I tried in that first month at like different people's houses or parties. Or
Because then you was known for...
Yeah, because I've tried it now, yeah. So, but it was that thing of her trying to keep me away from it. And then as soon as I tried it, it was like, well, I don't need to protect you from it now. You can come and be involved.
So you're still working at this time?
Yep.
You're still doing the doors. So you're earning money.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But then your money's going on the drugs.
Yes, but I was getting, like I said, I've grown up around it. So there's people from my childhood who, as soon as I went to them, they were like, oh, just have this and just give me.
Yeah.
So I'd get about 5 or 6 gram of coke for 100 quid, right? Literally like kilo cost price. And then we'd go to Waking, her mates would buy 2 of them for 50 quid each. So we've just got 3 for free, 3 or 4 for free. So instead of them thinking, oh, we'll just have them 4, if they wanted 4, we wouldn't just keep 2, we'd buy 2 lots. So now we've got 6, 7, 8 free, rather than just keeping 2 for free and making 100 quid.
The spiral starts now, doesn't it?
So now it's about this being free, not about making money.
Yeah.
And then it just
snowballs.
Yeah, massively.
Okay. So is that where you end up in prison then?
Yeah, 2008 was the first time. So I'd have been 25. But it were one of those where like everyone said, oh, pretend you're an addict and that you were in debt and people made you keep it at your house.
Yeah.
But they know where you live, so you can't possibly say who it was. So I did the whole, I'm sure 99% of the people who get caught say the exact same story. As the police are listening to it, they're just like, this shit
Here
again.
we go. And it's for them to try and disprove what you're saying, because that's what they do,
Yeah. So the judge gave me a 9-month sentence and said, this is enough time for whoever it is to forget about you.
Okay.
So it'll get you away from those people and hopefully you can come out and your life will change and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, cool.
Because obviously it's your first time in prison.
Yeah. So 9 months. So obviously you only do half a sentence. And then I got tagged. So I did 2 months and a week in prison, 2 months and a week on tag, 4.5 months on licence.
Did you go back to work?
I tried moving to my auntie's in Bridlington. And looking back now, a lot of things make sense, but at the time it didn't. So I moved to Bridlington, but all I tried to do was escape. I didn't deal with like the way my head was working. So the second time in prison, they spoke a lot about the addict brain, which I didn't know about that time because nothing to do with drugs was addressed while I was in prison. So I've come out and I'm just thinking like, if I'm not around it, I won't think about it. So I moved to my auntie's in Bridlington and I signed up for college. I can't remember what I was wanting to do, but I signed up for summer. And then I came back one weekend for someone's birthday, got absolutely off my head and took a load of stuff back to Bridlington. So now I'm sat in Bridlington away from everybody, still doing it. What's the point in this?
Yeah.
So I moved back to Leeds. And it got bad then in the sense of like, we weren't just selling coke, it were, you know, one of lads who you might actually know, he got a 33-year sentence in 2008. So he's not been about for a while. But he'd be like, oh, I've got like a kilo of ket here. Do you want to try and get rid of this? Just give me like a 10 or a gram. So we're like, yeah. So instead of like, we'd sell it for 20 quid a gram. But again, every time we sold 1 gram, we'd get 1 for free.
Yeah. So it's not actually a financial gain, is it?
No, it's just free drugs.
It's just free
party
drugs.
life.
Yeah.
That feeling of like walking into a house party and being able to just tip a load out and just be like, oh yeah, crack on.
So we go to prison.
The second time.
So we go to prison. How long's that one for?
40 months. 40.
Okay. So
and I had 5 gram of coke on me. but they had 6 months worth of deleted text messages of like pickups and drop-offs and stuff like that. So
you get your 40-month sentence.
Yep.
Is this where you start your rehabilitation now? Is that where the realization of going, listen, I had a chance last time.
No.
I've been given another sentence.
Eventually, but not in the beginning, no.
Oh, no, but I'm saying that sentence itself is where you change.
I went to prison the second time not knowing I had an issue. I didn't think drugs were a problem. Because I always had coke, I never went without it. So I never had that feeling of like needing. Yeah. But I was literally like all day, every day, from waking up to passing out on a night, I was doing coke every 15, 20 minutes. At work, I used to work in a suit in Leeds City Centre. I'd be in a stairwell or a toilet, just having keys constantly. It would just, and it I don't even know if it were like, you feel it, you don't feel it anymore. It's more like the routine, or do you know what I mean? So I go to prison.
It becomes a norm, doesn't it?
Really? Yeah. It's just part of my routine now. So I go to prison not thinking I've got an issue. And then I'm in Armley for 2 weeks. So I meet everyone on the induction wing, and then you all move on to your wing, and then you move out. So 2 weeks after I got there, I moved out to Wheelston. Did 6 months in Wheelston, and then got Cat D. Moved out to
so they're going to be Hatfield or Sudbury?
No, I was going to say Sudbury, but that was the first time I went to Sudbury.
Okay.
This one was it's in Preston, and I can't Kirkham. So I move out to Kirkham, and when you get there, because it's an open prison, you have to go around and register at like the education and the library and all the rest of it. So I'm in the library, and I hear one of the guys from Leeds. So I go and I chat to him, and he's like, "Oh, pretend you're an addict, and they'll put you on recovery wing." They called it the Greens. It were just 2 porta cabins on top of each other. You get your own room, wooden frame bed, which sounds mad, but like, you know, on those hospital metal frames. Yeah. And it's got like a wet room, so you've got a shower in your room. So I was just like, yeah.
A bit like Kirk Leviton.
Yeah. Well, I've tried to go to Kurt Levington, you know. They were saying that that's the best cat D in the country. And when I got to reception at Wheelston, there was an officer there called Mr. Brown. And he'd been cool with me every time I'd seen him. Like, I got a PS2 sent in, so it was in my property, so I didn't have to pay 300 quid from that catalogue. And then I was sort of like, "Oh, can I?" And he was like, he's sort of like, I think he knew, but he was like, "Yeah, just take it." So I managed to con a PS2 into and keep it as property. So he was always sound with me. And then when I was when I went out to go to Kurt Levington, they kept saying Kirkham. And all I heard from Kirkham was, it's a terrible prison. There's always space there because no one wants to be there. So I was like, no, I'm all right, I'll go back. And he said, well, you can either go to Kirkham and be on home leaves in a few months, or you can go back to your pad and wait 6 months to get to Kirklev. And I was just like, all right, fair enough, I'll go to Kirkham. I go to Kirkham, get put on greens because I pretend I'm an addict. And I meet this woman called Barbara, who's a drug worker.
Though, are you?
Well, at that time I am. Yeah. So I'm blagging it to get the good room. So register with the recovery people. There's a woman called Barbara who I have to have these meetings with. And she's like this, I won't say a number, but she's like this older, like white woman, like big hair. You know how you'd expect, like, you know, the women that you see in, no, I'm not even going to say that. She's just ace. Like, she's ace. Never been an addict. She can sit and drink wine on the night, whatever she wants. And I've always had a thing of like, how do you know? But she knew. So I have to go to an NA meeting. And they're reading all these cards, and I'm just like, and then at the end, they all stand up and hold hands and say this prayer. And then they start hugging. So I'm just like, no, this isn't for me. So I went and I said, I lied. Like, I don't need to be on it. I lied about, you know, being an addict. I just wanted the nice room, blah, blah, blah. So she sits me down because we had an appointment. She's like, well, it's an hour long. So like, you might as well just tell me about your life before you came. So I'm just chatting away. And she literally just went, are you fucking kidding me? She went, listen to what you're saying, because I'd normalized my lifestyle.
Yeah.
That was just normal. Other people around me did the same thing. They were doing coke all day, every day. It wasn't like standoutish as being weird. It was just normal. So she was like, I bet when you was a kid, you used to do this. I bet you used to do this. I bet you used to do this. And I was like, yeah, how do you know? And she called it the addict brain. So then that made me sort of realize a lot of the things that have happened in my life, and like when I was young, and the way I think differently and all that sort of stuff just started to make sense. So then I chose to go back to NA meetings because I was like, this is the thing that I need to do. And started doing all the work around it, like going back to chapel and trying to figure out what that means for me and stuff.
Is that the one where they've got the 12 steps?
12 steps, yeah.
And you used to get a key ring, didn't you?
Yeah.
As you're going through. But then, the good thing that I liked about it, because when I was away at another place, they did it there. And what you do is you actually go back and you help the others as well, don't you? So you're helping them.
Yeah.
Once you get to a certain level, you're then helping.
You sponsor people.
That's it. Sponsor people.
And it's exactly what I needed at the time, because I never saw the sort of like how my actions affected other people. Yeah. So when I first went to prison, my sister sent me a letter, and it was like, I just need you to know that, like, as soon as we got home from court, my mum went to bed and she cried in bed for X amount of days. It was a few days before her birthday. And this happened, and when the house got raided, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, whoa, why I'm the one that's in prison and you're sending me letters like this. I'm the victim. You're all just getting on with your life like everything's fine. You know, I'm the one that's, I'm.
It's that ripple effect though, isn't it?
Yeah. So completely oblivious to like everything that happens outside of court, because you just get taken out the back, down the stairs, in a cell. Your world's ending. You think everyone's just cracking on like it never happened. And then so far into that journey of like 12 steps, I tell Barbara about this, and she says, ask her to write that letter again. And then I want you to get the letter and read it out to the group. So I messaged my sister. I'm just like, oh, you know that letter you sent? So she sent me it, and like when the house got raided, I'm locked up in a cell. My mum and dad are in different rooms. My dad's having a panic attack in one room. My mum can't go in because they're not allowed to communicate. Plainclothes police go upstairs. My sister and her husband had just moved back in to save up for a mortgage. My sister's husband's training to be a teacher. They just go into the bedroom. So they think the house is getting robbed. They think that it's robbers because no one announced as police. So just these men have just come barging into her room. And then they said if they would have found drugs in any part of the house, everyone would have had to have been arrested, which means he would never have been able to become a teacher. So even that one example, like there were loads, this letter was just full of like, when this happened, this is what it was like for us, sort of thing.
It's all about accountability after that.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. So you come home.
Yeah.
What we decided to do with our life now.
When
you come back home 2017?
2014, okay. Yeah. So I went just before summer 2013 and came home just before Christmas 2014. So I did a year and a half, got tagged 4 months, and then obviously had to do the same again on license.
So you're back at your mum's?
Back to my mum's, on probation, start volunteering. I said to one of the drug workers in the prison, a guy called Matt, and he was the first ex-prisoner to get keys for a prison. So he worked in there on the recovery side after being a prisoner. And I said to him, like, after everything I've learned, after everything that's like starting to make sense, I want to try and do something to help other people, because I had no clue. I thought I was making all these decisions consciously, didn't know I had an issue, didn't think there was any problems, this is just me and my life and blah, blah, blah. And he said to me, oh, it's just a phase everyone goes through, you'll get over it. And something in me didn't sit right, because my biggest motivator was tell me I can't do something.
You think that's what he was doing though? Do you think he was?
Don't know. I don't think he was purposely trying to motivate me. I think he was just fed up of hearing people say the same thing. So,
because I'll take you back. So when I first met you, we was doing the things in the schools, and you used to donate. You said get the people to come with you. Is that right? And then so you was getting people to come out, and then they was paying you, and you was paying the money to the place.
Oh yeah, so like I'd have relationships with, like, if we're working in Wakey or Cass, it was Reflections. It's Halifax, Calderdale, it was Alpha. So they'd send me a couple of lads to talk in schools, and then whatever I got paid went to that organisation, so they could take them like go-karting or you know, whatever they needed. Or
so is that where it all started for you? Is that where you was giving back then?
Yeah, maybe. And I just think, so I was volunteering for probation because of what he said. And someone at probation, so as far as work goes, I got told, like, one of my pals worked in a warehouse, and he said, you're guaranteed a job. And in my head, I was just sort of like, I don't want to just do something like that. I want to do something more, because it feels like an easy way out. I've been to prison. No one's going to employ me. and I sort of want to break that stigma. So I went for a job with Leeds City Council, and in the interview, every question they asked, give me an example of a time. Well, when I was in Wealdstone, I worked in education and I did this, this and this. When I was a prisoner in Wealdstone, I worked in education. Give me an example. Well, when I was a prisoner in Kirkham, I worked here and I had to do this, and this shows teamwork or whatever it was. I made every example the last year because they know I've been to prison because it's on my application form. Now, sometimes you'll get an interview because people are nosy. Oh, I wonder what he's like. He's been to prison. Shall we? No intentions of employing you, but it's that opportunity to get somebody in who you'll never get to sit and speak to. So now my story is attractive because it's different. So my examples are different. And I always say, like, I go back into prisons and talk to guys and say to them, if prison has changed your life in a positive way, talk about it. If you're drinking, smoking, gambling, and you get run over and you should die but you don't, that will give you a different outlook on life, because it's like you've had a second chance. Why am I throwing it away? What am I doing? I need to do better, whatever the reason. You're going to talk about that in a positive way. It was a really horrible experience that happened, but the result of it is everything in your life is now going to be better because of it. So if I talk about prison in the way that it was for me, that it's changed my life for the better, it can only be a selling point.
So where does Phil Pearce, director of life experience, come from?
It were volunteering for probation. A guy asked if they had anyone that would come and talk in a school. A guy called Mick Amos. I'm working with him still. And I went to meet him, and he told me what we were going to do, and it was like a school assembly hall with like bleachered seats. Is it called bleachered seats? Staggered seats that get higher. Yeah. And he said, there's about 300 kids. And I was like, no way. So what we had to do is he sat opposite me and all the kids are there, and he'd ask me a question and I'd answer him loud enough for them to hear. Because I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. Yeah. And it went really well. And afterwards, a couple of girls came up to me, and one of them was like, oh, my dad's in prison and I thought he was going to die. But I'm going to tell him now that you've changed and that he can too.
What year are we now?
This is like 2015 maybe.
Okay.
And it just like, so then there was 2 other people volunteering for probation. A lad called Paul, who sadly passed away, and someone who I went to school with. So us 3 started meeting up, and then there was other people on the course. And we was like, shall we just get a couple of people together and see what we can do? And we was all sat in a cafe, I think it was in Halifax somewhere, and we came up with life experience. And we came up with the logo, with the jigsaw piece puzzles. And it started from that. And then we just did it as like an unofficial, this is us sort of thing for 3 years. And then we registered in 2017 as an official community interest company and started applying for funding and doing it properly rather than just like school drop-ins and stuff like that.
Yeah, because when I meet you, it's 2019.
So we've already been going officially a couple of years.
You've been going a couple of years.
Yeah.
And quite daunting for me for when I started, because again, you're a little bit ahead of me when you're talking about lived experience and using lived experience to then educate other people. So you're a little bit ahead of me. But then when I come, I think maybe because of just how I am, no labels, but I said it to you the other day, it was like there was an influx of people that came along at a certain time on it, where it actually made it fun to be around all these different people. And you're one of the people where it made it fun of not being part of the organisation I was with, but being part of your own organisation and going, so it does work because he's done it and look what he's doing now. And he's actually in the same room as me, because we was doing work with a football club as well, weren't we? At one time. Yep. But then we were doing things together, and then obviously it starts from there. So there's quite an influx. So where does the giving back start? Does it start when you're in Kirkham, part of the 12 steps, or does it start from when you get released and you do that, you get them free drinks for the people in the street?
I don't have a clue. I think it's just a little bit of all of it, in the sense of like, a lot of the 12-step work was about how horrible I used to be. So, but you don't see it as that. Like for example, I take drugs to an house party knowing that if I put the first one out for free, people would then buy it.
Yeah.
So it's not even just the act, it's the mindset.
Yeah, there's a method in the mind. There's a method in the madness.
So you could be like, oh, Soundy's put one out, but whether that's nice or not, whether anyone bought any after that or not, I went there with the intentions of conning people into buying off me. And when you sit and start to sort of like understand how horrible you were and how take your responsibility in those situations, it just sort of made me realize that that's not how I was brought up. That was literally from the time of taking drugs. It was like, what's in it for me? And then...
So you're basically peeling it all back and being you.
Yeah, literally, yeah. And it's that thing of...
Because I can genuinely state you are not money orientated.
Yeah.
You are a person where you go, well, you've done it, where you go, listen, this is what I've got. Anything I can help with you can use it. But anything else, if you need it, then if I've got it, you can have it. And you genuinely are that guy.
Yeah, I do. I hate money. I hate that we need it. I hate the sort of class system that comes with it. I hate, like you already know, I've had some jobs where they weren't even jobs. Like I was getting paid a lot of money to do podcasts.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did podcasts for a long time and I loved it. And then they came and said, it was literally like £1,000 an episode, right? So
I remember.
2 a month. I'm laughing, like I don't need to do anything else. Didn't plan, didn't research, just got somebody in, had a topic already. That person's either a professional or an experienced, like lived experience person around that topic. Let's just have a chat. And then it were like, I started questioning my intro because obviously it's me singing Craig David and then my voice changed to a chipmunk because it was just fun. And I started researching guests and I started trying to clue myself up on topics. But I think the good thing about the original podcast was I'd ask the dumb questions because I wouldn't understand. So people watching would then get the answers that they were hoping for. Because if everyone knows what they're talking about, the person who doesn't really understand the subject gets lost.
Yeah, and like I think you've heard me say it before, where I don't mind being the idiot.
Same. Yeah. Someone has to be for you.
Somebody has to be because again, if you've got 10 people in a room and people are saying and start saying all these words, there's probably 8 people in the room that are going, "What's he on about?" So I'll put my hand up and go, "What does that mean?" Because the other 8 people are going thinking the same thing. But I don't mind being the idiot.
Yeah.
And again, but then I'm quite rebellious that way because whatever word you've used. Because you use that word around me, but now you've explained what the word means, I then refuse to use the word that you did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what I'll do is, because I know the meaning of the word, I'll find the other meaning that can come from me.
Yeah, and use that.
And I'll use that word, but I refuse to use the word that you did.
Yeah.
Really, it's just pathetic. But it's how the mind works.
But yeah, so then, like I say, I've got the podcast, and as soon as money was involved, it changed why I wanted to do it. I was a poet. I was a full-time poet for a while. And then the next lot of money was to write new stuff and do a theatre tour. And I was just like, I now feel like I'm having to write stuff to the value of what you're paying. So I stopped doing it, never did it again. Podcasting, never did it again until I started playing ice hockey. And it's like, as soon as money was introduced, it changed the reason why I wanted to do the thing. And now I don't do the thing anymore.
Yeah, because there was quite a significant poem you used. I've watched you speak. I was going to say hundreds of times, but I don't think it's hundreds of times, but it's a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I know you always used to finish it off.
With the knife crime.
With the knife crime poem. So I know you was always into the poetry. And yeah, we've had the conversations where as soon as it became about money, you kind of deviate. But one of the things for me is you was always... if someone said to me, "Oh, do you know Phil?" I go, "Yeah, the gadget man." Like, if there was anything that came out of the latest gadgets, you had it. Even if you used it once. Oh yeah, so have you seen this? Like, I always remember you coming. I'll always remember, and you were like, "So listen, Carl, I've got this thing, yeah." And I remember coming to your studio, and you had this thing, and you was like, "Look," and you held it, and it worked. So I don't know how it worked, but it made the thing disappear.
Oh, yeah, the 360 camera.
The 360, but you couldn't see you was holding it.
Yeah.
Like, look, You went, but then you'd look into it and you go in depth, and then you go, however, there's this little bit here where then you think, oh, wait a minute, it's cut off his arm. Where's his arm gone and stuff like that. And I used to look at you and think, mate, I like gadgets, but this is ridiculous.
I am bad for that, yeah.
Yeah, so how did the gadget thing come? How did that come about?
I've just always been into like gaming and like.
Would you say you're an undercover geek? Or, wait a minute, or nerd?
I don't think it's undercover. I think I'm just.
So which one do you say you are, geek or nerd?
Both. Like I'm greedy, I'll take both. I'm an addict, But it's that thing of like always wanting like the new, like the phone I've got, it's one of these because I use YouTube a lot. So that's my screen, but I can attach my Xbox controller to that and play my actual Xbox from it. And do you know what I mean? Like I am a bit, but when something new comes out, not necessarily like a new version of something, but like the 360 camera, I've now got a better 360 camera. And then I've got a £5,500 VR camera, which is just a 360 camera that's got 6 8K cameras on it. And it's like it's just like, oh, what's the next?
And you live in total mess as well, by the way.
It's
the disorganized chaos, in it. Like the amount of times you go, I have got it. Just give me a minute. Yeah, you're pulling back black blinds, and I've got one somewhere around here. I'll look for it. Then again, might have took it home. Yeah. So
it's because I do that many things, like especially in the studio. The studio, like we've got a podcast area, photography area. But then I started playing ice hockey. Yeah, so we've got the room. That's all right because that's sort of separate. Yeah. But then there's some women who come and have like a mental health meeting there on a Wednesday.
Yes.
So like they've got like a table with some biscuits and a kettle and a fridge. And so whenever I'm using it, it looks ace because it's set up for that one thing. But you look behind that and it's just mess.
Because that's how your brain works.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. Like I've always said there's a bit in my brain that always needs attention. So I can't sit and like do one thing. If I'm on my laptop, I have to have like something on Netflix I've already watched before. If I haven't watched it before, I'm watching that instead. So I'd cycle through Suits, Sons of Anarchy, New Girl, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So I watch it all the way through all the seasons to the end, go on to the next one, start again at episode 1.
You're always doing something new, aren't you? You're always. Is it more that you're challenging yourself? Is that why you continuously do something? Or like you've took up ice hockey now?
Yeah.
So as an example, does that come from either someone saying, no, you can't do it? Or is that coming from where you go, because I know you did the rollerblading and stuff like that younger. Yeah. Is that where you go, well, this is the next step and I want to challenge myself to see if I can do it and see how far I can go?
With work, it's one thing ain't enough. So I'll do 2 things, but then eventually you get used to doing 2 things. So then I'll do 3 things. And then it's just constantly like, once I get to a manageable sort of workload, I'll add more stuff because it then becomes like I'm distracting myself because this is now quite easy or not challenging enough. With ice hockey, I was getting paid, but not given any work to do last year. So every month I got paid, but there was never any like, we need you to do this. So I had a lot of spare time and I was doing all my own stuff. Like I was keeping busy because I can't do nothing. So I was making films and doing all sorts. And then someone said to me, why don't you start playing ice hockey? Because I've been watching it as a fan for like 4 years in Leeds and do like YouTube videos of the process. And I was just like, why don't I just start playing ice hockey and do videos of the process? But then what's happened is that work stopped. So now I'm busy with work and also trying to fit in ice hockey. And so I hadn't really done videos for a while. I've been watching a couple of the first videos and it's funny to watch to see how far I've come. But
so I've got a few more questions for you and then we'll tie it up. So my third to last one is what does the future hold for Phil Pearce?
See, it happened again. My first thought of that answer was to do with work, and it shouldn't be. I want to be. I'm thinking about different things now, like a stable relationship, my own home, maybe even out of debt. That's where my head's going because the more personal. I work with this amazing woman called Jo. She runs Reestablish, and whenever we start eating, it's not like throwaway conversation. she'll ask things like, you know, what 3 things have you got on your bucket list? And if you don't have any, she'll be like, well, what do you want on it? And it makes you imagine the future. And then it makes you like, all right, so if that's what I want to do, what am I doing now to get there?
To that point, yeah.
So I love stuff like that. And we had the conversation a couple of weeks ago, and it made me realise that my ambitions now were more personal. It's more about, you know, like hockey's getting me back into good health because I'm training almost every day a week, whether I'm on the ice or in the gym. Which
is good for the mentality.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's more personal goals now. If you'd have asked me this 3 years ago, it would have been, I want life experience to be whatever.
The best charity, the best CIC. Okay. Next one, and I know you've heard me ask this question before. If you could change anything in your past, would you, and what would it be? See, I find this bit difficult because mine will always lead me back to my children. So if I change things, it's always going to lead me to my children. Or if they've asked me in a school, then I won't be here today talking to you. Like now, I won't be sat here talking with you today. So I find it hard to live with regret because most people always put changing something because they regret it.
Yeah. So jumping off the motorbike was a big one. But then, like you say, my life might be worse now because I didn't jump off the bike than it is today.
Yeah, because if you wouldn't have jumped off the bike, you wouldn't have been with that woman. She wouldn't have introduced you. The cogs in your main wouldn't have said, well, football, fitness, boxing, it's all gone.
Well, sport would have carried on. So you don't know where that's going to take you, or, you know.
You wouldn't have been a pro footballer.
We'll see. But it could have been like, I could, like, best case scenario, I'm on 50, 60, 70, 80 grand a year as a businessman, absolutely hating my job, like never ever got onto a level with a young person and spoke to them about the things that they're feeling or going through. I would never, do you know what I mean?
Which leads me on to my next question, my final question.
But before you move on, I've got a really bad relationship with my little girl. So I started taking drugs and I used ketamine a lot and watched videos of her as a child because I couldn't see her. So that was my way of spending time with her. When the reality is, all I had to do is not take drugs.
And pick up the phone.
Yeah. So I've had an on-off relationship with her for, she's in the 20s now. She was born in 2003. So she had her 22nd birthday in January. And we'll spend time together and then we won't, and then we will, and then we won't. And then we were planning her 21st birthday. We spent loads of time together, went going out for food, went to cinema, which was one of the first things we did for no reason. A lot of it was like, oh, can you take me to get my car MOT'd? Or but this was like
genuine.
This was just spending time together. Yeah. So I absolutely love that. But now we're she's not speaking to me, and I got some messages which were like, I'm never going to speak to you again, sort of thing. So there's a lot there where it's like, I wish I'd have made better choices there, because that's not just affected my life, that's affecting her life, and it still is now 20 odd years on.
Possibly affect other people's life that she's introduced to as well.
Yeah. So that is 1,000,000% a regret.
Still going through with what you went through though, but just having that relationship would have been different.
But it's difficult because if I made better choices, I wouldn't have taken drugs, I wouldn't have gone to prison, I wouldn't have done all the things that I'm doing now. Honestly, that relationship is more important to me than all the stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that would be the one thing I chose, regardless of how that would have changed my life today.
Okay. Again, still leads me on to the next question. So, advice that you would give this generation? Let's go with, I'll give you 2.
Okay.
I'll give you 2 things you can give as advice for this generation that we've got now. These kids in school that are getting involved in crime, antisocial behaviour, whether it be knife crime, gun crime, drugs, whatever it might be. If you had two options that you could give the advice on, what would be the advice?
It's difficult because the advice we give is based on their circumstances at the time, isn't it? So you've got people involved in sort of drug dealing at a young age. It's about positive influences in their life. Like, who do you look up to? Like the Rock is one of the hardest work. He's now the highest paid actor in the world. The Rock. Well, I say in the world, there's probably
a wrestler
in America and England sort of thing. He's the highest grossed actor, but he's hardworking. But he's not, like, no one looks up to him. He's not cool. And it's that thing of like, what are they seeing as cool? And well,
Do people actually use that word cool anymore?
Well, like, well,
just
probably
saying.
not. Probably
I mean,
not. But
cool.
who are they inspired by? And it's like, it's either people who aren't doing the right things, and then they're inspired for the wrong reasons, and we know it's due to like bits that they're looking for in their life that's missing. So they're attaching onto things that feel familiar, or they feel like that's what's missing, or it's immediate gratification. You've got YouTubers that make one viral video, they're famous, and everyone's chasing that instant sort of win.
It's that dopamine hitting it.
Yeah, and they think that their life will change if they are horrible to someone on video, or if they push someone off the bike into a canal, and it's that thing of like, I don't care about how it affects other people. This is going to benefit my life, so I'm going to do it. And it's just that.
Okay, then. So we'll change it to the advice you'd give your younger self then.
It would be something around the education side, the way your head works, 1,000,000%. Like, I feel like my life would have been different if there would have been more understanding around how my head works when I was young. And I think a lot of issues would have been either resolved or would never have happened. Like I say, I was just the disruptive one who was always getting into trouble.
Well, wasn't that masking?
Well, yeah, because I didn't understand why I was the one who, like trying to do something funny because I don't understand in class. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, is the class clown? It's like, but it's because I don't understand what's going on.
Them laughing at you.
Yeah. So if it was to myself, it would be something around that, I think. And just about how, everybody learns different. Because when we was in school, I say we, like I'm obviously a lot younger than you, but when we were back in there, when we were in school,
there's no understanding of those things.
It wasn't a thing, was it?
And not only that, there wasn't an understanding that boys or men could talk about how they felt as well.
Yeah.
It was all that man up, what you're acting like a girl for, big boys don't cry.
Yeah.
So I get that times have changed. So, final one is yours, my friend. The final question is yours.
I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this before or not, but I feel like it's sort of a two-parter on why you doing this now, and similar to what you asked me, like, what if you have an end goal? What is it like? What are you trying to achieve?
Oh no one's asked me the second. The first one of why I do it. So the first part of the question is, why do I do what I do now?
Yeah.
Because the why I do it now is obviously one, is because obviously that I got the letter from my mum and that's what kind of changed. But why I do it now is because I believe that I wasted a lot of time, a lot of years, and it's only because I'm at a certain age where I think, wow, and I do look back and I go, I know I'm intelligent, I'm very smart. I left school with 8 GCSEs. I know how clever I am. And the amount of people that I've met along my path, whether it be in prison or whatever it is, who are highly intelligent or incredibly talented at sport and other things. And I think, wow, what are you doing? But I'm actually sat there with the mentality of going, I know what that is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so the whole thing now is all about educating young people enough for them to realize that they do have a talent and letting them find what that talent is. Because everybody has something that they'll be a master at. It's just to find it. So I want people to do as many things as possible, so that then they pick one thing and they go, that's mine, that's my talent. So that's that one. Your second part is end goal.
Yeah, I guess end goal, or what's like the plan? What?
Do you know what? I don't have a plan. My plan is very basic, if I'm honest with you. My plan is, as long as I fall asleep every night and I wake up every morning, I've had a good day.
Okay.
Because everything in between can change. But the two things that are most important is those two things. Is falling asleep at night and wake up in the morning. Because again, you wake up in the morning and say we've got a meeting at 12 o'clock. You go, Carl, you're not going to believe what's happened. I've got a flat tire. I'm running late. So therefore our meeting's late. So that disrupts that day, can possibly. Whereas falling asleep at night and wake up in the morning, everything in between can change, but those two things are significant because you've got a family, kids, X, Y, Z. You get to see them first thing on a morning. You wake up and you get to see the things that are important to you. So for me, fall asleep at night, wake up in the morning. That's my goal. That's my goal every day. So my goal is that every single day.
Okay.
So I live with a goal every day.
Sounds like a bit of a cheat, like a very achievable goal.
Not necessarily, because you never know, do you? Like, let's be honest, man. You just never know. But I think long term would be to leave On the Verge as a legacy where people talk of On the Verge from a positive point of view and say where the travel, because you know yourself, your name can precede you, can't you? So I'd rather it be On the Verge and then everybody else comes second to that. But the individuals that are within On the Verge,
I'm not even
second. On the Verge is there because it's that's the whole point of it. Well, Phil, thank you very much for coming. Honestly,
we've been quite well behaved, haven't we?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, we have. We haven't even got no outtakes. But is there anything you want to finish off with, or is there anything you want to say? Anything that you're doing, what you want people to know about?
No, if anyone wants to watch some amateur ice hockey, it's all on my podcast channel, Fill Me In. All the podcasts are on there as well, to be fair.
Yeah,
so if you scroll through the history,
we'll put the link in the bio anyway.
There's a lot
we'll do a link on that one.
Yeah.
We'll do a link on that one. Our outtakes not on there, is it?
I don't know, it might be.
That would be a good one to put.
In fact, it might be. Go and look. Go see if you can.
That's just a group of people laughing, like belly laughing. We spoke about it, but no, honestly, Phil, listen. I promise you, thank you very much.
Yeah, no
I've
problem.
appreciated having you on. Honestly, thank you.